Want to know what I like best about high school sports? I love watching my son run on the field. I love the fact that since he's been playing high school sports, he's making better decisions. And I love knowing that with the proper equipment, education, conditioning, and coaching, high school sports here in Ohio are safer than ever before. That's something I really love.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken. And when I want to catch up with Youngstown sports, I tune in to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to BestHotelRates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Let's take a moment to appreciate our sweet children, loving grandparents, and eternal soulmates. Now let's use them to save money on wireless. Because with the Straight Talk Silver Plan, you get 4 lines for just $25 a month with unlimited data and no contracts. So add those human pawns, loved ones, and save money. Thanks, kids. You're finally worth it. Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Get 4 lines on Silver Unlimited for $25 per line per month, plus taxes and fees. For data management practices and additional terms, visit straighttalk.com.
Sports Map Tonight with Luke Morrow.
Doc Rivers, quote-unquote, hired Dennis Rodman to come babysit his kids when they were both teammates in San Antonio in the mid-90s. What athlete would be the worst or best babysitter? Of all time, any sort. Like, obviously, I think you say Tim Tebow would be a great babysitter. But if I needed a babysitter in a pinch and I had to choose an athlete.
I'm with you on Tim Tebow for a great babysitter. I know probably who the worst would probably be.
Who would you say?
I'm definitely thinking Antonio Brown.
Absolutely.
I feel like Russ might be the most boring babysitter.
Oh, you know, that's another good one, too. Speaking of phony.
He'll come with all the cliches.
Yes, he would drive you nuts. He'd probably do a good job, like from the parents' perspective. He'll make sure the kids are okay. But yeah, the kids probably would not like him. They'd be, putting things in his shoes and stuff.
He'd be like the substitute teacher that nobody likes.
Exactly. They're throwing things at him when he turns around, sticking signs on his back.
Super responsible, though.
Oh, he'd be a great babysitter, but the kids just wouldn't like him.
Sports Map Tonight, weeknights from 10 to 1 Eastern.
Wake up call. Not Mark Cuban for 25 years. Right? Bought the Maverick.
Cord getting fines.
Yelling constantly at David Stern. Stern is like, oh, stupid 38-year-old billionaires yelling at me every night. Then he goes, I'm not just going to buy a basketball team. I'm going to be one of the biggest names of the owners. Like when people don't know the owners of all the other teams, including the one they root for, they'll know me.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Did you know you can go to a trade school college that has you learning as an apprentice in a real radio station, culinary kitchen, film studio, or in a recording studio? Stay out of debt and out of a boring college classroom and learn on the job in the real world. The Radio Connection puts you in a real radio station. The Recording Connection trains you in a real recording studio. The Film Connection has you learning under a real filmmaker. And CASA has you learning one-on-one in a real restaurant. It's your life. Amplify it now and learn as an apprentice in a unique way to get a career as a broadcaster, podcaster, chef, music producer, or filmmaker. Just visit one of our sites, radioconnection.com, recordingconnection.com, filmconnection.com, or casaschools.com. Or call 1-865-413-5724. That's 1-865-413-5724.
The diehards.
And then all of a sudden, a sweeper pitch comes in. She goes, what's a sweeper? And I looked at her and I went, I don't know. Hey, Siri, what's a sweeper pitch? What is going on? Like, I felt like I was lost. And I'm like, I cover sports. I know this. And again, I'm a knucklehead fan on the radio, but I'm like, what is this? And then I'm seeing slurve. And I'm going, what? Like, am I gone?
The Diehards, weeknights from 8 to 10 Eastern on the Sports Map Radio Network.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
It's time to kick back and listen to the Sports Page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Good morning, Saturday morning Sports Page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark on Western Reserve Studio here at the newly renovated Gessler Propane Studios in Struthers, Ohio, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here on Western Reserve Radio. Dave Clark, have we got a lot to get to today? We got to talk about the college playoff. I know that was Sunday. Did the committee get it right? I think we pretty much agree to that, but we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, the NFL, there's so much to get to in the NFL. A slate of games. And now we're getting to this part of this year or the season where you have teams that are like fringe playoff teams, and all these games have an impact somewhere down the road. It might not, one opponent might have nothing impact to do, but the team playing them, like we'll give the Giants and the Packers or a Monday night game, just an example. But the Giants are pretty much out of it for a playoff, but the Packers are not. Packers surprised everybody on Sunday night, beating the Chiefs. You got it right, Dave Clark. I did not. Typical. Then obviously the stunner, or not, I guess wasn't a stunner, was to me, the Bengals beating Jacksonville Jags Monday night with the backup quarterback. I mean, Jake Browning played great. And then obviously, though, the one we're going to get to is what is going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You had 2 home games against 2 10 teams. Basically, 4 days apart. 2-10, the Cardinals blow in on a Sunday. The New England Patriots, who before the game against Pittsburgh, in the 3 games before that, they scored a total of 13 points. This was a team with no offense whatsoever. They pull the upset. Again, you got it right. I got it wrong. They pull the upset 21-18. We're going to talk about that infamous fourth down play that people still in Pittsburgh are upset about. And they're talking about someone needs to be fired over that, which is no overreaction at all. But then I was saying, well, what happened? Dave Clark, they got rid of Matt Canada. So Matt Canada, you can't blame Matt Canada. Or you could try to blame Matt Canada for these last two games, but he wasn't there. Yeah. And I kept hearing from these Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it was all his fault. This is all Matt Canada's fault. This offense is so terrible. You need a new offensive coordinator. They were chirping last year and then continuing the chirping this year. Well, Matt Canada packed his bag and is basically long gone. But boy, that offense looks terrible. And I know Pickett is out with an injury, and Trubisky, let's face it, he's a backup at best. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But I'm going to ask you, let's start with the committee and let's talk the college football. First off the top. Obviously, Bama's in, Michigan's in, Washington's in, Texas is in. Did this committee get this right?
No, I still say I know why they did it.
Right.
I do. If you want to talk it that way, money-wise, it was correct. But if we did it the way the letter of the law says they're supposed to do it, it's wrong. I mean, I understood people was wondering maybe Ohio State to get in, but I thought that wouldn't happen because they wasn't playing anyone. So they can't really move up or down unless there's some significant blowouts of teams that were in it. Florida State was fourth, they got blown. And let's say Texas got beat and Georgia would have won. And I think Ohio State gets in. They need help to get in. But way everything went across the board, there's no way you leave a 13-0 team on the outside looking in. They should have been in. Whether they get blown out in the playoffs, they just get blown out. Because of the quarterback play. Because you want to talk about defense, man, they got athletes all over the field that can play defense. Oh, yeah, and they got offensive athletes, too, that can run the ball. But can you just run against these top-tier teams? You're going to have to pass and mix it up. And I think they would have got blown. But regardless, they should be in. Texas should be out. And I think what happened is once they seen, it would hurt. Is Alabama beat Georgia. And now the committee is going to say, we're going to hear it if we put Alabama in because Texas beat them earlier in the year. But that's the key. It was early in the year. I think when you look at, if they should really look at it and say, okay, we look at the whole body of work, then let's look at the last half of that body of work. Because some teams struggle, they might win, and then all of a sudden they get super hot. Then sometimes you have teams that might lose one early, and then after that, they're as powerful as ever, but they don't get in because they got that loss on their resume. They didn't get a chance to get in the championship, or they might have just been great and lost the championship game. There's no way that Texas beating Oklahoma State, maybe more of an argument if it was Texas against Oklahoma.
And they won.
Maybe a little bit more of an argument. But you beat Oklahoma State, and nothing against Oklahoma State, but I'm just looking at the situation. They have 3 losses coming in there. Absolutely. And so that's the reason if, let's say, Oklahoma would have came in with just the 1 loss and they played, that's a little different. Florida State got screwed. And I understand it. They definitely did. Now they're on the outside looking in. And I'm glad the committee's gone. I'm glad it's over.
It's over.
I never liked it anyway. So, and it's been times they got it right. Still never liked it. I never liked how that 4 teams, 5 power conference.
That's it.
It was always a flaw.
Yeah, this system was inherently flawed when they decided to go to 4 teams.
Yeah.
We talked about that a lot, but you're right. Bottom line is what I thought they were going to do is I went back and forth with a friend of mine, and I just said I thought they would put Alabama in because Alabama is the SEC champ. With 1 loss, they beat the number one team in the country, Georgia.
Yeah.
So I thought Alabama was getting in.
Yeah.
They weren't leaving Bama out.
Right. Only one loss.
With one loss and beating Georgia. What I thought they would do, and this is kind of what you just said, is I thought they would leave Texas out, even though that Texas beat Alabama, but that was early in the season. And when you look at how Alabama has basically progressed between when they played Texas, and even the main person, that Milroe, is just absolutely...
That's not even the same person who played against that Texas team.
No. This young man has transformed himself into a different player. And you're right. It's not even remotely the same player. I mean, he was, learning the position. Well, he learned it all right. Now he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in college. Now he's worked his way to that, definitely in the discussion. But the point is, I thought they would say, okay, the team that Texas beat, the Bama team, isn't even remotely the team. Now they beat, since Alabama beat the number one team in the country they're in. Texas beat Oklahoma State, who had 3 losses, let's face it.
Right.
And granted, they took care of business, but it's not the quality of the opponent. And I thought they would go the quality of the opponent. Right. Alabama beat obviously the better opponent than Texas did by far. Right. They would turn around and say, okay, Bama's in, Texas is out. Florida State went undefeated. They're in.
Right.
I think if Jordan Travis was healthy, they blow Louisville off the map, because Louisville, let's face it, is a limited team. A lot of mistakes they made. And it's the ACC. Let's call the ACC. It's the 5th of the 5 power. It's probably the 5th on the tree of power conferences. But the whole point of it is, I thought they would put Florida State in undefeated, but leave Texas out.
Right.
But I guess they felt in their decision that since Jordan Travis was not there and not a good team, they were an average team, it would be like if they had Florida State playing Michigan, it would be a Michigan-Iowa game all over again, because they were not going to let Florida State probably score against that Michigan defense.
Right.
So, again, at the end of the day, I think that's what they decided. That's what they did. In essence, they said, okay, Jordan Travis is out. Florida State is out with Jordan Travis.
Yeah. And it's just...
And I still thought Texas should be outside looking in here.
I still think so.
And I thought they should have put Florida State in and just wrote Texas off as quality of the opponent. Yeah, you beat Bama, but that was a long time ago. Bama is definitely...
that's all they had to do was look at that. And I can't remember the score of that game. I remember parts of watching that game, and they didn't blow them off the map.
No.
It was a competitive game, and Milrose was not accurate with the football.
No, not at all.
He just... You could just tell he was lost back there. That's why right now, Alabama can beat Michigan, and Texas, go ahead and beat Washington. Let that matchup be again, Alabama and Texas.
Now I want to watch it.
Yeah. Now I want to see, do you handle it? I ain't got nothing to say, but I just think that Florida State definitely got screwed because that defense was something. Now, Louisville, I think, is a good football team. I think their biggest weakness, I hate to say it, is right there with Plummer at quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
He makes bad decisions.
He made horrible.
He throws the ball offline. They got talent. The receivers, the backs, they got talent across the board, but he's not accurate. So a lot of times they're moving the ball, and then he makes a terrible mistake. You put a different quarterback behind there, a top flight quarterback, and Louisville is a problem because now the defense is not on the field all the time.
No,
and some games he's had good games, but it's not happens all the time, and they get by because of their talent, and they're able to beat other teams. But definitely, just going back as far as Florida State, it's sad that one guy. The receiver too, Wilson, had been banged up. He played in that game, but he couldn't be a factor because the ball couldn't come out accurate to anyone. So, now I have to fault some parts of it on Florida State. I don't like to do that. Coach Norrell, I don't want to fault him. But the reason I say that is there were some games that they had significant, basically beat downs on some teams. I think I get my guys in the third quarter early on and let them play and get that experience during the season. So when a situation like this comes up, especially them being freshmen and they got to play, at least they got game experience. They can come in there and feel a little bit better and confident than just coming in these big situations, because it looked like, even though they probably was high school stars, it's on the bigger stage now. Might be a little shaken, and they got to play in these big games. So that way my quarterbacks, backups would have been ready in case of a situation like this happened, because you never know when your guy could go down.
You never know.
And man, and that's really all you've seen in Florida State's weakness in that game is the quarterback couldn't do certain things. And when he did make some throws, it worked out good, but they ran the football. Defense was just smothering.
Oh, yeah, Florida
dominating.
State's defense is definitely.
Oh, man, pass rushers all over the field. I mean, give you all kind of issues. So I wanted to see them in it, but and still, I'm not saying it won't be a bad Final Four. It still should be pretty competitive and should be good, but I am very happy, Pat, that it's over with, because I never liked it from the beginning. I remember I still can vividly see that show that we did the first time. It was doing, and we kept saying, this doesn't make any sense. No. 4 teams, we got 5 power conferences. We went on and beat up the NCAA that day. I still remember that about you come up with this and think this is great. Yeah, it's great to have a playoff, but what are you doing?
Even said you should go to, at that point, why didn't you go to 6 teams?
Yep.
You could have gone to 6 teams, and that way you have it for the 5 power conferences, and then you have a wild card.
Yep. There
at least go with initially, and then the first 2 have a bye.
Yep.
And 3 through 6 playoff, and then that way you could have at least started that way.
Number 1 takes the lower seed. Yep. Number 2 takes the next one, and go
from there.
Yeah, and that setup. Now, would there have been arguments? Yeah, because there have been arguments about 6 and 7, 7, 8, whatever it is. Right. It's always going to be an argument.
Yeah, always going to get into that discussion.
But it wouldn't have been as ridiculous as it is now, because it makes no sense. It just didn't make any sense. You always had a conference that was supposed to be a Power 5 sitting out, and sometimes 2 if you get 2 SECs who had the opportunity to always have 2 of them. I think the Pac-12 was left out a couple times, right?
They were, I think, if you look at this setup, I believe they were probably let out, and I'll look it up, but believe the Pac-12 was the conference that was left out the most.
Yeah, I would think so.
Because Clemson was always getting in for ACC. The Big Ten was always getting a team in. SEC always got a team in. And the Big 12 always managed a team. But the Pac-12 was the conference always outside looking in, because there the problem was those teams were always basically beating one another, and they always had 2 losses, so that the Pac-12 was out.
Right.
This year, no, Washington runs the board and was undefeated. They had to put them in. You can't leave Washington out. They were 12-0. Michael Penix was healthy, so you can't use a quarterback. So they're in. So this is a year, I believe, the only year that the committee really had to do. The first year was always a problem because the Baylor should have got in, Ohio State got in. I remember that whole rigmarole. But as years followed, usually they didn't have any problems because the Pac-12 always had teams with 2 losses. This was the last year Pac-12 ran the board. They had to stick the Pac-12 in the Final Four, which basically meant you really couldn't put 2 teams from one other conference out.
Yeah.
So bottom line is then they had the problem, though, when Florida State went undefeated. Now they really had problems. Michigan's undefeated. So they had a lot of undefeated teams. And, now Georgia won. Obviously they were undefeated. They had too many undefeated teams this year and not enough spots.
Yeah.
Last year they didn't have enough spots. That's how Ohio State got in, because they just kind of ran out of spots. They had too many 2-loss teams.
Yeah.
This year they weren't that lucky.
Yeah.
And this is the year they really had to, basically screw somebody. I just thought it was Texas who was going to be outside looking in initially.
And I would have seen how they could have been arguing it.
Right.
But I would have still say I have to lean towards that's a different Alabama team.
Right.
And roll with it.
And quality of the opponent to get in. They could have, I think the committee probably could have got away with that one and left Texas out.
Yeah.
and even though the Texas people would have been crazily mad, but that would have been an easier sell than leaving the undefeated Florida State out. But no Jordan Travis was.
And not only that, though, Pat, the argument couldn't be really big because Florida State was ranked ahead of.
They were
of Texas.
Texas, that's right.
So they ran the table.
Yeah.
The argument is, okay, yeah, y'all won and beat Oklahoma State, but you played a 3-loss team.
Right.
Even Louisville, I can't remember if they had 3 or just 2. I think they might have had 2 losses.
I think they were 2 losses.
So that's the difference. They won it with a freshman quarterback without their star.
No.
They ran the table. You got to put them in. You don't put Texas in. That's the only thing I think I bet you was an argument about Texas beat Alabama early in the year. Now, if that was Texas beat Alabama in the 10th game, 9th game,
it's different.
You got to shut it up. But we talk about Ray early. I think it was was that the second?
Yeah, it was second. By the way, it was 34-24 was the game, and I believe it was the second game of the season. For Alabama.
You got to look at this thing. You got to understand this is college football in which they want to advertise like pro football. And if you're going to look at it like pro football has a preseason, an exhibition season, whatever you want to call it. That's what they have. They don't have it.
No,
in
college doesn't have it.
So I think those first 3 games, at least two, give that break to them. It's almost like a preseason situation. You get a loss early, that should not affect you of getting into the playoffs later because they haven't played any games. You come right off the board in college football and you come out there and lose your first game. And, you got to give them an opportunity. And, you can plainly look at that Alabama team. I mean, look at the pass rushers they have now. Compare. The guys was young then. They wasn't right there. No. You can see they're missing Anderson, who went to the pros and everything like that. And it's like, I don't know if and then those guys came on like crazy. The D-line got strong. You've seen everybody rise to the occasion. And that's a different Alabama football team.
Yeah,
so I'm rooting for Alabama, Texas, and maybe to a certain extent. And
her replay.
Yeah, let's just solve it again. Let's solve this thing.
I just don't want Michigan to win, so that's how I feel. That's how I'm at. I don't care who wins.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know a lot of Ohio State fans. I never take it that far. I don't care. I mean, sometimes normally I would take Michigan over Alabama because I would like to see them do it more than I've seen Alabama do it so many times. Right. So I would love to see that. But it never makes me no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's how
I know how people just hate it. I just can't do it. I can't hate it.
I don't know. I just don't like, I just think the whole, thing with Michigan, I just want to see, I like Bama, I like Saban anyway. So I'd like to see them win, but I also wouldn't mind if Washington won it with Penix.
Yeah.
Either. I mean, that's fine. I don't really have a dog in the fight, but I just want to see Michigan get beat. But we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what Harbaugh does. Supposedly Michigan is going to give him a big contract extension now, and all is well. But you're still waiting for the NCAA penalty for Harbaugh. They're not done with this whole cheating scandal, so who knows where that's going to go.
It cracked me up with that anyway.
Yeah, that's to me. I don't care about that. Yeah, to me, that thing with the signs, I think that's ridiculous. In that, you know what? First of all, if you're a team, you should change your signs every week anyway. That solves your problem. Yeah. Now they're hopefully going to put radios on the helmets and do away with this stupid thing.
And that could have been done.
And that could have been done.
Follow the NFL. You try to follow them about everything else.
Exactly. Following the NFL. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that thing is something. The thing that gets me with that whole cheating scandal, I like how the media just kind of built that up. Yeah. I mean, ESPN was building it up. Well,
they don't like.
Right.
And
they don't
that's what make me sometimes want to root for them to us. It do. For it to be a different way, because that's wrong, man.
Right.
I don't care who it is.
Right.
That is wrong. To be like that.
Yeah. And I just look at that whole thing as, you know what? I I laugh at the cheating scandal because I think it's ridiculous. That's something that, they're stealing signs. They all steal signs.
Baseball, everything. Remember that?
Yeah.
Who was it? The Houston Astros?
Yeah, the Houston Astros had that big thing. And I'm a Yankee fan, and a lot of Yankee fans complain that that's the reason how Houston beat him in 2017. No, the Yankees lost because they can't hit. They weren't hitting the ball.
Yeah, they were struggling.
They can't, Girardi was the manager. He almost got him into I would have liked to see Joe Girardi get the team into the World Series and win the World Series and then have Cashman tell him, we're not bringing you back, Joe, because we're not going to renew your contract because his contract was up that year. He was a lame duck. I wanted to see Girardi win the championship and then have Brian Cashman tell him.
Explain that one.
The guy just won you the World Series and now you're not going to renew his contract. He's out. Oh, he's done. And you don't want him back. And he just got you a World Series because they didn't like one another. Rumor had it.
Yep.
It was all they had a lot of personality conflicts. Mm-hmm. And, bottom line is you can't put your personality conflict aside when somebody's winning. That's usually what everybody does. Right. Is if winning will basically make the personality conflicts become livable because you're winning and people overlook them. But when you're losing, then they actually go into the closet and find things to get rid of you. Yeah. So that's that's the way life is, unfortunately. Yeah. But now I regret we do digress on this show. But bottom line is that's the Final Four. I think it's a good Final Four. Yeah. I really thought at the end Texas would be outside looking in, and Florida State would be in. SEC was going to get Alabama in. I don't want, and all the Texas people would be screaming from the mountaintop. I said, "Look, you play the Big 12. That's not the SEC. The funny part is Texas and Oklahoma go to the SEC next year. Yeah. This will be great to see how good they navigate through the SEC next year and how many losses that they end up. Are they going to end up being on the middle part of the pack of the SEC, not top of the Big 12, beating those inferior teams, if I be so blunt. But now you're going to be playing the SEC, and those teams are a little bit tougher to get through. So it'll be interesting next year. But also next year we have 12 teams, and granted, they can argue 12 and 13.
And they will.
And they will.
It's going to happen.
Everybody's going to chirp away at 12 versus 13. Yeah.
But that argument shouldn't be as loud as they would say. It shouldn't be.
No, and you're not going to.
You got 12 teams now. Be satisfied.
Right, and if you have an undefeated team in a Power 5, they get in next year. No question.
Yeah, no questions asked. It's all just the only thing to be different is where they're going to be seated at. Right. Other than that, they're all in.
It's just the seeding-ish, but everybody's going to get in that needs to get in, and people could. The only thing they'll get into next year is they'll scream and argue about seeding. Well, but everybody's going to be in. Yeah. That'll be the other thing. They'll probably say, we should be seeded this, we're seeded that, but you're in. Mm-hmm. And if once you're in, everybody starts 0-0. Your record is 0-0 when you get in.
And I wonder how they're going to do these 12-team playoffs, too. It's going to be interesting.
Well, I think the first games are at the higher seed.
Yeah.
So
they'll play it at home.
They play at home. The higher seeds are home. And I think they're going to have buys for the first. Aren't 4 teams getting a bye?
I think that's
they've got to. They got to go. 4 teams get a bye. The other, and then
8
after that first round, then they go to the bowl setup, I believe.
Yeah, because you have those 8 have played at least 4 teams in 4 games.
Yes.
After that, now you can hit the bowl system.
Now you hit the bowls. Now they're going to incorporate the bowls into the second round.
Yeah, and that's pretty. I like that. That's
I like that. I think that's a good idea.
If you get that 5th seed, then you'll be at home against the 12th seed,
right?
Like that.
Yeah. 6. Yeah. Right. That's right. It. Yeah.
6-11.
Right. 6 and 11.
7-10.
7-10. 8-9.
8-9. Yep.
That's how it'll work, and then the 1 through 4 will wait, and then you'll go to the bowls right after that.
Yeah. Should be interesting.
So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. Everybody will like it. You'll get more football to watch.
More games to pick.
More games to pick. More games to get wrong. But We were both 6 and 7 last week.
Oh, man.
And we were all over the board. It was like, I think I came to the conclusion we almost got every game right if you just take, like, you got it right, I got it right.
Go back and forth.
Yeah, we go back and forth is how it worked out. Saturday morning sports page. We'll be back after a timeout. Western Reserve Radio.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway club fitting center, and an Odyssey fitting studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Oh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play. And you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark coming right back at you. 330-707-42. Talk college football. Get to the Buckeyes here. It looks like, obviously, Kyle McCord is now a transfer portal leaving Ohio State. Surprised a lot of people. The word or the rumor on the street was that when after the season was over, Day told McCord, allegedly told him, that, you know, the job's not yours. You're going to have to compete for it next year with the other players on the roster. You're going to, you know, and then maybe he brings in a transfer portal guy.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what he was thinking. He's
and I
do anyway.
think that's what he's doing anyway. And told McCord, you know, I'm probably going to go transfer portal. So the job is not yours. You can win the job, but you have to compete for it. And I think that's when McCord said, nice knowing you. I'm out of here, and I'm going to try to another team. This is all we speculate on this show.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't do a good job of it, but that was the word I read through the, you know, the Twitter and all the word on the street was that was the reason why McCord left.
And I kind of can
and that sounds plausible. That sounds
I don't think
right.
There's no way McCord done played with Harrison. They've been teammates through high school.
Right.
I think he would have, now we know Harrison may be gone, but still, I think he would have stayed at Ohio State. I'm the starter at the school like that. We know we always got an opportunity to get to the big dance, especially next year with the expanded thing. We shouldn't have a situation. And then all of a sudden he just leaves and go to a transfer portal. There had to be some things said.
That's what
that made it, so I could believe that. And I think other things too. And then I think one thing I hate about fans sometimes, they be so brutal. And they have been brutal at him because of one situation. That's not the reason they lost, just because of a interception.
No.
There's you still fought back and tied that game and had opportunities and other situations that happened.
Well, the defense couldn't really make the stop and get the ball back too. And I mean, the interception hurt, but the defense, again, it was contributing factors in that game.
Right.
But I think that
Ohio was not magnified like the quarterback position is going to be. And you got to understand as a quarterback, but it's just how brutal, and just a thing that you just said that was off the air. Certain teams react, as we've seen, like Tepper in the NFL. Just get rid of them. You got to stick and keep some continuity within your team. And I thought McCord got better as the season went.
He did.
He got much better.
He did improve.
And and he had those little situations that happen. It's the wrong time for it to happen.
Right.
But they did, and then you react on it. And that's how some teams do with their coaches, players, and everything, and you just can't do that all the time.
Let me. I was thinking this just this morning. Remember before Twitter and the internet?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember coordinators getting fired during the season. I was thinking.
I mean, it may have happened a little bit, but not like this extreme.
Because I went back to the Pittsburgh Steeler game Thursday night, and I heard all the Steeler fans, and I even talked about it earlier. They were chirping about Matt Canada. It's all his fault. The offense is terrible. It's Matt Canada's fault. Well, no, it's certainly not Matt Canada's fault. But I think ultimately, and I thought to myself, if that was 25 years ago or 30 years ago, there was no internet, so people couldn't get onto Twitter and go rant and rave. And then, Twitter people read Twitter or Instagram and Facebook. They read all this stuff, and then constant starts to almost like overwhelm. And teams feel like, well, we have to make a call because our fan base is upset. We're not playing well. And I think in a roundabout way, it actually affects the team to some extent. And they make a decision, we got to make a move here. We fire usually the offensive or defensive coordinator. Rivera fired Del Rio, the defensive coordinator, after the Dallas loss on Thanksgiving. And then the Buffalo, McDermott fired that offensive coordinator right after they lost. Buffalo lost that game. Was at the Minnesota? Buffalo lost to, I'll look it up, that Monday night game where they had it. Too many guys on the field.
Yeah.
Was it the Minnesota game that they lost? What do I think it was?
I don't know.
Or Denver.
Yeah, Denver.
It was the Denver game.
Yeah.
They lost that Denver game, and it was too many guys on the field. The guy misses the field goal for Denver. Sure enough, now you get another bite at the apple.
Yeah. And I think that does happen because of Twitter and all those different things.
That's what I was thinking. I think
it contributes big time.
It contributes because I thought 25 years ago, if that happened, people would be upset. The media would write a couple articles. And then that would be it. And then the newspaper cycle would run. Some people read the paper, some don't. The fans do a lot of complaining, maybe, but it doesn't
Well, it doesn't alter they may go ahead and fire him at the end of the season.
At the end of the season, maybe.
But this is the thing I will say, and I know a lot of people will say Matt Canada was his fault. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I do believe the system is him. It was him, just like the guy in Buffalo, just like Jack Del Rio's outdated defensive system. Yeah, it'd be that, but when you see the new guys come in, you might say, look, they're still terrible.
It's still bad.
Well, it's going to be because there's no way in the NFL, I guarantee you can call anybody and find it, they're not going to bring a guy in, I don't care, off the staff, and they're going to change their entire offense or defense.
Is set.
You can't. Now, what you could do, you might do some other little things and throw it in there, but your base is still going to be the base of what it's always been. It's not going to change any of that. You just may add some other things. You might some other wrinkles and stuff like that. You got to stay with that.
But you still have a
you have to stay with it because you've been with it all those weeks. You're not going to do that in the last 5 weeks of the season. So people say, "Oh, it's still the same." Yeah, it's going to be the same because all you did is try to put some wrinkles in there. It's still the same offensive system, still the same defensive system. They'll find ways. You're talking about smart coordinators on winning teams. They're going to find out how to break that, and it's going to still look the same. That's why I think you just wait until the end of the season to do it. Because it's not going to change much. You might get a spurt. You get a spurt a couple weeks.
Maybe.
And then all of a sudden back to the same stuff because you can't get away from it. The base is staying the same.
But the Washington defense with no Jack Del Rio gave up, how many points? 45 points to Miami last week. So it's the same defense, even though Del Rio's no longer the coordinator.
Well, I wonder what it gave up with Del Rio there because I don't know. Because that's Miami.
Right.
If they're playing a different offensive team, basic offensive team, you might be able to see, well, let's see what this is.
No.
Because the Steelers look good on offense. Who was it against? Who did they play and then they look good with Canada gone?
Bengals. Yeah, Canada was fired. They played the Bengals. Mm-hmm. They looked good, but they only scored 16 points, but won. But the offense looked better.
That's why I told people when people say they look good.
It look a little bit better. I don't know.
They look better in certain
But they still didn't score the points.
They still didn't score. They were able to move the ball a little better.
You felt better that they looked more
and they won.
In sync.
And they won.
They won because they played the Bengal quarterback who hadn't figured it out. Now that the Jake Browning, it looks like he's figured it out. He beat Jacksonville, or the Bengals beat Jacksonville on Monday night. Now that Jake Browning's got a couple starts under his belt.
Did you hear what Jake Browning said too in that interview afterwards? That when he came in and had to be the starter the first game, he came in and was pressing.
Yes.
Trying to make things happen. And then he said, what is he doing? Go back to your roots. Right. He said, Joe Burrow said, what are you doing?
Right.
He said, when you were at Washington, you was always a calm, laid-back guy. And he looked at it and said, yeah. So he went back to it.
And he went back.
And look how, did you see him on the sidelines? Yeah. He was always calm and under control. And look how they played. And he did play good at Washington as their quarterback.
He was a good quarterback. I believe
I couldn't believe he didn't get drafted.
He got them into the Final Four, I think, and that was the last time Washington got in the Final Four was when Jake Browning. In fact, that was the last time a Pac-12 team got in the Final Four was when Jake Browning was their quarterback. I believe that.
That might have been it.
Yeah, and I have to look it up, but I believe that was it.
He's always been a calm guy, and now he did it. He knows the system. He's been there.
He's been there. Yeah, he's been basically
their backup
for a few
I think he was third
years.
team at one time, moved up to the backup position, gets in there, looks like a whole different thing because now he can run the offense. He knows offense.
Yeah, he knows the offense.
Yeah, and all he had to do is just be accurate and do what he needed, and he was. Was accurate?
He picked that Jacksonville Jag defense apart.
Yep.
And in essence, surprised everybody on Monday night.
But I wouldn't change the coordinators because that's what people got to think. They be thinking, well, the coordinator gets out of there, they bring another guy in, whether he's on staff, and they're going to change everything. Who can change the system in 3 days? And they probably say, what do you mean? If they played on Sunday and got to play next Sunday, they only got the Monday is off day.
Right.
Then you get in there, you got to get the classroom. There's no way you could change the entire system in 3 days. Yeah. You got to play the same defensive system, and you just throw wrinkles in there and go and hope for the best. That's all you could do. You still got the same players because you may have guys in your system playing out of where they should be. Sometimes you have a guy playing corner that maybe he would be better placed at safety. You got all kind of dudes that's out of position. And that could be the changes you meet more than the defense or offensive coordinator.
It's just
And it's
like
just that
rotating personnel
Yep.
people in, or get them in the right scheme.
Now,
You
see-
know, that's the always the quirk. You hear some coordinators talk about it, and you see announcers talk about it. Is they need to have the right personnel on the field, knowing what the offense. If you're defense, you got to have the right personnel when you think the offense is going to run a certain play, but you have to make sure your personnel is right on the field. And sometimes you don't have the personnel right on the field, and then you usually get caught for a big play because you were out of position because they didn't have the right players on the field at that time. But I just thought, like when you break it down and looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers now, they've almost kind of got themselves in a hole here. And when you look at their remaining schedule, it's not all that easy.
No.
They have away game. I believe their away game is at Seattle. They've got the Bengals at home, but then they have Indianapolis away. And then I believe
somebody else is good.
They've got another away game on there, and I'll look it up. But they've got kind of a tough schedule.
Yeah, they do.
And the reality, if you were a Steeler fan, you were thinking in the back of your head is you should be
9-4, right?
9-4 right now, and you should be kind of at least thinking, okay, we're 9-4. All we need to do is win one or two more games. We get to 11 games, and we're pretty much in.
Now people they want Tomlin's head. A lot of on Twitter,
right?
But I will say this: when it was on NFL Network, this was early in the season, maybe around the 6th or 7th week. And they were complaining about the offense in Canada. But they said fire Tomlin too, and they said Tomlin was in not a power struggle. You know that Tomlin is the head coach, but the word there, and I know that's not coming from ownership. They want to feature Kenny Pickett, whereas Tomlin wanted to go with the old way. Now I heard Bill Cowher talking about this on a pregame show that he wanted to just say, "Let's go Steeler football, get the offensive line better, and pound it." And then we play action sometime with Kenny Pickett. But the word was they wanted to feature Kenny Pickett so that he could throw the ball all over the field. That's not Pittsburgh Steelers football.
But that's not how they play.
And when Tomlin felt that he's not there yet, let's run the football and be a physical football team, play good defense, they didn't want to do that. And I think they struggled. Now you in the middle of the road. What do you do? And now...
Here,
I think that's what they should have been playing.
Well, I know one thing they should
keep it low and scoring games.
Okay, one thing I know they should have done is when they had the ball, the Thursday night game, it was 3rd and 2, and you had the ball, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of the 50-yard line. Don't hold me to the exact, but all you needed to do is get another first down, and then complete another 8 to 10, 12-yard pass. And then a couple runs, and you're down, say, to the 30, bring in and kick the field goal, you tie the game. But no, they threw a pass on 3rd and 2. They really didn't make a lot of sense throwing it at 3rd and 2 because you should be getting first downs when it's 3rd and 2. Run the ball. And they did not. And then the 4th down play, which everybody is still to this day in Pittsburgh and around the country screaming and yelling to the top of their lungs, he threw that outrageous pass downfield. That, really...
Did you see Tomlin's face after it happened? It looked like his eyes pierced through a person's
like
body.
He just went nuts. Now, supposedly, rumor has it, and I don't know if this is true, Tomlin's the one that approves all the play calling. In other words, he has a say on what you're going to call. So if he didn't like the call, why didn't he change it? Yeah. I don't know why they just didn't. We were watching that game, and I'm thinking, okay, 3rd and 2. Let's face it, Trubisky's challenged throwing the ball anyway. So you don't want to. You need to get that first down. You're not going to get it with him throwing the football. You're going to get it by Najee Harris running the ball up the middle because he's your guy. Okay, so get that first down and then figure out, okay, where do we need to do? Because at that point, I'm just thinking get down to tie the game. And then force it into overtime. Then you have it being the home team in New England basically crapped out in the second half offensively. They played over their head in the first half. Zappy played like Johnny Unitas for a quarter or two and surprised everybody. Mm-hmm. But they go back to what they are offensively, which is a bad football team. So bottom line is you get into overtime, you probably win that game. So your whole focus here, if you're Pittsburgh, is just get the 3 points. That's all you need. Yeah. And then that's what I mean. It's 3rd and 2. Get your first down. Because you and I have watched enough football, and everyone else has to realize that's what you need to do, but you didn't do it. And then see one thing in the NFL, we have talked about it countless times. What makes the NFL so much better than NBA and baseball? These games matter. You play 17 games. Each game is important. You can't give games away. Not this time of year.
Right.
And Pittsburgh's focus should have been, we blew the game Sunday. We need to win this Thursday, and because we need to get to 10 wins. Now we were just talking. The other team they need to play, they've got the Indianapolis Colts next week. Then they have the Bengals at home. Then they go on they end up with Baltimore away.
That's what I thought they played.
That's who they have this at Indy next week. NFL Network 4:30 Saturday. Then the other Saturday game is 4:30 NBC Cincinnati at home. And now Cincinnati's with the Jake Brown.
They got a chance.
Now you can't rule. Now Cincinnati's back in the playoff discussion.
Yep.
At Seattle may need that game to get in. They're at Seattle. So Seattle's going to come out probably.
Yeah, they have to because they on a slide right now.
They're on a slide and they got to find a way out. And then they figure they have to play at Baltimore. Now Baltimore may be in a position they might need that game.
Yeah, and then and I always throw out records when that I don't care what their records is. That's going to always be
that's going to be the rival game, and
it always is.
So if you're a Steeler fan, you are now 7-6, and you look at the AFC, which is now with Kansas City losing. You look at the AFC, you scratch your head, and you're thinking, "There's no clear favorite here."
No,
I mean, I thought maybe but Kansas City looked pretty average against, and Green Bay came out. You could see Jordan.
They can't play. They play with more confidence on defense too.
Jordan Love, at the end of that game, Jordan Love, man, I got to give him a lot of credit. He said, "I had this game circled because I went back to the way I played against Kansas City, and I was frustrated last year when I played, or was it a couple years when I played Kansas City last year? Mm-hmm. I played so poorly against Kansas City. I lived with that. Like, you could tell that weighed on him." And he goes, "This was like basically," he didn't say it, but this was his another bite at the apple, and I'm taking advantage, and I want to beat these guys because I go back to how I played. I didn't want to play that way a game. And he played a great game Sunday night. Yeah. And he gives all the Packer fans hope now.
Yeah.
And if you look at his numbers and Rodgers' numbers are stone identical as of how many starts that they had. Mm-hmm. He and Rodgers are matching up. Almost the numbers, his numbers and Rodgers' numbers are identical. They showed that on NBC.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's doing great. But the thing that, I seen he was getting better, but I was concerned about how Green Bay defense going to play. And I can see right now Patrick Mahomes still see Gary coming off the edge.
Yep.
He could still, that guy was like they could not block him.
No, they could not.
And he was just always in his face. He was always under duress. They put so much pressure.
He had him
put
rattled.
A lot of pressure.
Yep.
A lot of pressure. You got him off his spot. Mahomes stays pretty composed, but if you can get a quarterback off their spot, they can't get the ball where they need to get it. And then they rolled the dice. I can't say he did, but Andy Reid and the organization rolled the dice with these younger receivers and said, "Oh, we can do it with these guys." And I still think you needed at least one more top flight veteran.
Yeah, they do.
To be on that football team at the receiver position.
They do.
This one. It had been one. These other guys would progress. Not Reed, but what's the young guy? Rice. Right. He's getting better and better. You can see that. But if you had one more type lead receiver, there.
Tyreek Hill.
Well, yeah, that's a different type of lead. That's a monster right there. But I was talking about just a guy that could be. I mean, let's say if I took somebody off of San Francisco, it could be Brandon Ayuk. If I took somebody off of the who else? Let me see. Brandon Ayuk could do it. If it was the Eagles, I could take Devontae Smith only. I don't have to take AJ Brown. I could take Devontae.
No, but you could take.
You just need somebody that they catch the ball no matter what in any kind of situation, and it just make the other guys rise up. But you got all these young guys dropping the football, except Kelsey, and then sometimes he got the drop mode for a minute, but not much. That don't happen with him. It's not because Patrick be putting it right there, and these guys be dropping it.
I know. It's not him. I mean, Mahomes is playing really.
Yeah, he's playing.
Still playing,
he's doing,
even though
doing his guy.
He's been rattled and they've been made, but he still could. He's still the best quarterback in the league by far.
You got a guy running around. You can't throw off your spot.
The other team in the league, I think that everybody has to admit, is the best team in all of football, and we saw that on Sunday.
If they keep playing that way,
if they keep healthy.
Yeah, and then keep playing that way because I want to see if they. I hate when teams get so hyped. They had that zeroed in. I got to play them.
Right.
And it's a regular season game. And we used to say you always shoot your worth sometimes on one game. And then you can't keep that.
If the San Francisco 49ers can keep Trent Williams healthy and Deebo Samuel healthy, Christian McCaffrey healthy, and obviously the quarterback, they keep those guys and keep the team relatively. They can keep those guys on the field and healthy. They are the best team right now.
Yeah, right now.
Right now, they are the best team. Deebo Samuel, to me, is like lightning in a bottle. You can throw the ball to him 9, 10, 12 yards down the field. He makes somebody miss. He turns upfield, and all of a sudden, he's running down the field, and nobody's going to touch him.
He has Jerry Rice speed.
Yes.
When I say Jerry Rice was not fast if you put him on a track.
No, right, but that's got exactly.
It's a football speed.
But it's a football.
Yeah, because neither one of them ran great 40s.
No.
But he said, when you got somebody coming after me, it's like a dog, pit bull chasing me, you're not catching me.
And that's the key. The key is, and that's a good way to put it, is you've got the track speed and no. You've got football speed, and Deebo Samuel has a gear in him where he just ratchets it up a couple levels, and then not only he's got power and speed, he's gone. I watched that game against the Eagles, and it was 6-0 Philly. San Francisco looked a little, it was a crappy day, rainy, cold.
Well,
Philly.
I figured the problem when they got 2 field goals.
But that's the problem.
Can't do that. The first 2 drives, you're great, and you stall out. Can't do that against teams like Kansas City, San Fran. Not even Dallas. You don't want to do that against them either. You go down and get a field goal against Dallas, they'll come back and score.
They will. This Dallas team is another team.
And that's the one I think, I don't know why I feel that they may sneak in there. Because I think they can.
They're a dangerous team.
Yep.
To me, I think Dallas can be a dangerous team. This game they play, it's going to be a big game because Dallas, they're playing Philly, Dallas. That's the Sunday nighter. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a good game.
And they always split. Now, Philly already done beat them. They usually split.
They usually do split. So this game on Sunday night will be very interesting. But Dallas has got to hope that Philly finds another, because right now they broke it down. Even if Dallas beats Philly, Philly has the tiebreaker. Mm-hmm. If Dallas wins, Philly would have the tiebreaker. So Dallas has to kind of win out and hope Philly gets another loss in there. So
they got another. I think they got some more.
Yeah, we'll look at the schedules.
Their schedule is
right. It's a very Philly's got it, because I believe they got a couple teams in there.
Yeah, I think, and then
they've got the Giants twice.
They didn't play them yet?
No, they have not played. I know for a fact that the Giants have Philly twice.
Okay, that
I could tell you because
they played. Okay,
they have not played the Giants yet. And here's Philly's remaining schedule: Dallas, at Seattle, New York, Arizona, and the Giants. They have a relatively easy. At Seattle could be a challenge
because it's out there. That's why I said that could be a problem.
That could be a problem.
Yep.
So Dallas has to hope Philly gets, because I don't think Philly's going to lose. But you know what? For Philly and the Giants, I know I don't think that can be any kind of a game because
you don't think it can be.
I don't know. You know, the Giants are a funny team because no one gives them any credit. I could see Philadelphia running in thinking, well, this is and then the Giants pulling some outrageous
I don't even think
upset.
they think that. I don't think they ever think that. I just think that conference, whether it's division, I think if it's Washington
or anybody,
you can't disappoint it. It will beat you.
He'll beat you. That's halftime. We have a lot more to get to. Saturday morning sports page. Time out after this.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge, a part of the Sports Map Radio Network.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Saturday morning sports page coming back at you. Second half of the show. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. 330-707-4202. Just a little program note that we are now on 12-ounce sports. Quench your sports thirst with 12-ounce sports. So people that have 12-ounce sports can now listen to the Saturday morning sports page, Dave Clark.
All right.
And we do this show from the Gessler Propane Studios that have been newly renovated.
Beautiful downtown
Struthers. Bob Gessler got his hammer and nail out and put a nail in the wall. That makes us a renovated studio. Anyway, we have a lot of fun on this show. Don't take anything seriously. But we were talking a little bit for the record. The Philadelphia Eagle remaining schedule is as follows. They obviously have the Dallas game, which is Sunday night at 8:20. Then they're at Seattle next week. That's a Monday night game, which is going to be a big game. And then it's the Giants on Christmas Day at 4:30. Then they have Arizona on New Year's Eve at 1 o'clock. And then they finish up with the New York Giants at the Meadowlands. Now, I know we talked those games, rival games in those divisions, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants are a funny team. They made a decision this week. And then I guess we can get to the New York Jet whole mess with that quarterback situation. The Giants are the other end of the spectrum. They have DeVito. I keep wanting to call him Danny DeVito. Tommy DeVito is going to be their starter. Tyrod Taylor is healthy, though, and he could have come back to start. But I guess they want to go with DeVito, figuring they want to give him more starts and see potentially if he could be their backup next year. Daniel Jones, obviously their starter, out with the ACL, so he will be out next year, or up till next year. Then he will come back next year. So I think the Giants are just figuring out they've got a Tommy DeVito, and he's very popular in New York. I think he lives at home with his parents. So it's always one of those good stories that I always like to talk about. So Tommy DeVito went to Syracuse, played well, evidently had some kind of a disagreement with the coach, transferred to Illinois and had a pretty good season at Illinois under Bielema, and he was an undrafted free agent, and the Giants signed him. And right now his completion percentage is almost 63%. So he's not playing too bad. Passer rater is 92%. So he's playing pretty good for the Giants. Giants still struggle with the offensive line issues. Their defense is pretty solid. I'll give them that. We'll see how he does. He's got the big game this week, the Monday nighter against the Packers.
Yep.
Packers coming into the Meadowlands, and obviously the Packers are in the playoff discussion big time. They got into that playoff discussion with a great win over Kansas City Chiefs, 27-19 on the Sunday night game. And even though the referees blew another pass interference with Kansas City toward the end of the game there's two pass interferences. Yeah. The one in the end zone, which you knew they were never going to call that one.
But
the one before that was a brutal one where the guy, that just was just like, what are the referees doing here? And you do kind of wonder with some of we don't get into refereeing because it's just, we could get into it all. We could talk about it for 2 hours on the show and play after play after play that they've blown. It just, I don't want to go that way. It's just obvious that the referees are challenged here, and some calls that they make, you just scratch your head, and I don't think they understand what pass interference is. They don't know how to call it consistently. The defensive holding thing is also another circus out there, if I want to call it that. Again, I don't know if they have any idea what that's about. So you just have to hope that when your team scores or completes a pass, look for the flag and pray to God there's no flag on the field, because that's what it seems that a lot of these games have turned into flag fests. Yeah. Some of them are legitimate, some are questionable, but that's just the way it's going to be. I don't know what the solutions, because year in and year out, it just seems this year there seems to be more egregious calls. And we say that every year, though. Yeah. Every year is this year's a bad year. They're all bad years.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, the Giants have an interesting game. The Packers are in the playoff hunt, and that division could get real interesting this week, because you have the team in that division that if I'm playing, I'd be a little leery of, are the Chicago Bears. Their defense has gotten so much better with Montez Sweat coming over from Washington. I don't know why I know why Washington let him go, because they didn't want to pay him.
Right.
And he and Chase Young, the contracts were coming up, so they wanted to get rid of them. They didn't want to pay these guys, so they shipped them both off. Chase Young has had a nice impact with the Niners. But Montez Sweat, Dave Clark, with the Chicago Bears, I think the Chicago Bears could be one of those teams that could be, and it could end up trying to be a real, fly in the ointment. In other words, Detroit Lions, that's it. The spoiler team, Detroit Lions, have them this week Detroit's at Chicago, and it's like 3.5 or 3 points.
That could be a problem.
That could be a problem for Detroit, because it's going to be cold, or it's going to be it's Chicago. The weather's crappy. You're going to play up there. You're going to outside. Justin Fields has shown you signs of improvement, and he might be realizing, hey, they're going to probably trade me. I'm playing for my job here because they're going to have the number 1 pick. And I think he might be, sometimes players get real motivated. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Justin Fields is thinking. I have a feeling I might know.
Well, I think they may not get a chance. Well, they would because they got Carolina's pick. So that's
Carolina's pick. He knows.
Yeah.
They have Carolina's pick, and Carolina's probably going to end up with the number 1 pick because they got 1 win. And they continue. They lost last week to Tampa Bay, but they didn't cover because I lost. Dave got that right. Point is, I don't think the Panthers are going to win another game. They may win 1 more game this year.
Yeah, they may have that first pick,
but they look like they're going to get the first pick.
Well, that's why he got to go ahead and audition just in case. But against all his games against Detroit, he's rushed for over 100 yards. In every single game they played. So now you got to worry about that end of it, and he probably will tuck it for sure. And then they try to get more involved early. And if they do that and he's running, there's going to be a problem for Detroit because they've been having some issues defensively lately. They still can score, but they've been having problems stopping people. So I just think Chicago's going to be right in that game, and they might pull off the victory. They might. I wouldn't put it past that happen.
They're playing at home.
And they got, getting Sweat, what they don't understand, that they already still had, Yugakwe, whatever his name on the other end, who's always been a good pass rusher.
Always a good pass. And him and Montez
Now you got them both. I think they said it was enabled them to use somebody they was using on the edge to go to a regular linebacker spot, allow them to have more talent on the field defensively, and then they got a couple of their defensive backs back from injury, Jackson at safety and different. That changed the whole thing. The defense get better. You're able to score and move a little bit on offense. That changes some things. So we'll see. Chicago might can pull one off this weekend. I wouldn't doubt it.
They're 4-8. They're in the basement. I think Justin Fields knows that basically at the bottom line, he knows that they will probably trade him somewhere and draft Caleb Williams because they're going to have Carolina pick. And right now it looks like that Carolina will have the number 1 overall pick, which means it's Chicago's pick. So when you break it down, and we talked about it a lot last week, the teams that would probably be interested in Justin Fields, and I think there's going to be quite a few of them that will be interested. But you never know what Chicago's going to do. I mean, we're just assuming that's what they're going to do. But if Justin Fields, if they start winning some games here and improve, they beat Detroit, they'll go to 5-8. Granted, they're not going to get into the playoffs at 4-8. I mean, I guess I can't say that yet because they're not mathematically eliminated.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think we can kind of pretty much say 4-8 teams like the Giants are not getting into the playoffs. But they could be the spoiler and can make, again, they could kind of screw up Philadelphia's season. They have 2 games left with them. You never know what can happen. But when you really start breaking down like a Chicago team, they could be the spoiler for some, like a Detroit. If they beat Detroit would go to 9-4. Detroit is trying to vie right now. They want to try to see if they can get the best record in the NFC. They're tied right now with the 49ers at 9-3, and then the Eagles have 10-2.
Right.
So
they're still there.
They're still there. They're in the discussion, but they can't afford a loss to Minnesota.
Right.
And they're a loss to Chicago. So they have that game this week. This is a big, important game for both these teams because Chicago would love to beat Detroit.
Yeah.
So I think those guys know in the back of their head that their coach, the coach is on the proverbial hot seat, we believe. So you never know how that's going to work out. But if the Bears go out winning a few games, then all of a sudden you're looking at, does the coach stay? What do they do with Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Do they decide to keep Justin Fields? However, they have to decide if they're going to pick up the 5th year of his contract.
Right.
Which I don't know if they're going to do that right now. That's why he's an easy trade because they could trade him to a team. What are they going to get? Well, that's going to depend on how well Justin Fields finishes out this year on his draft stock, because he could end up, maybe there's a team gives a second rounder up if he goes out with a bang.
Right, yeah.
Potentially. Yep. So a lot of speculation here, but bottom line is these games, and we're going to get to these games here, these NFL games, all of these games seem to have an impact somewhere down the road, like on a playoff team trying to get into position. Pittsburgh, you might have played yourself out of the playoffs with these 2 home losses now.
Yeah. Well, the pressure's on now. These last 4, you almost want to win. The last
4, you've really got to win. The 3 thing with Pittsburgh, I think you need, in the AFC, you're going to need 10 wins to get in, I believe. So that means Pittsburgh's got to go 3 out of 4. They've got to win 3 out of 4 to get to 10.
Yeah.
Where if you would have taken care of business with the Arizona Cardinals, I go back because they were at St. Louis at one time many years ago. Arizona Cardinals, you should have beat them. And you definitely should have beaten New England. You blow both those games. Now you're sitting at 7-6. You should be 9-4. You would have been pretty much playoff position 9-4. You're in good shape. Now you're 7-6. And now Buffalo is 6-6. They're in the mix. You're going to bring all these other teams now competing. The Cleveland Browns, big game this week against the Jags. Yep. Looks like I think Joe Flacco's going to start again, although
I don't think they announced it
yet. They don't know
yet
because Dorian Robinson, they still don't know about the concussion protocol.
No, he's cleared it.
Is he cleared?
They said they cleared it now, so just got to say who to start.
Who's
just like Jacksonville. Start? They're not telling who their starter is.
No, so Jacksonville's not, because they don't know about Lawrence's ankle.
Right. And he did practice and limited, but he did practice. So both teams might do a game time decision, or one of those decisions on Sunday morning that they tell who their starter is. They probably already know. Most times they probably already know, but
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but they will wait, and that helps.
Yeah.
As far as allowing him to have time, the defensive coordinator, that makes him have to prepare for 2 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, you got Beathard or Lawrence, and then the other end you got Flacco or Robinson.
Yeah, and that's really a difference because both of them are because Beathard is more stationary,
right?
And
Lawrence can
move all over.
And same thing.
Dorian, all over the place.
Dorian's all over. Flacco is the classic drop back throw. He did play good against the Rams. They just...
for a guy that's been out
so long.
All year.
He looked pretty good.
Yeah, not bad at all to come off the couch.
So
for sure.
It's going to be supposedly going to be a very windy day in Cleveland Sunday, they said. So it could be challenging as far as trying to throw the ball around. And that stadium sits kind of right on the lake.
Yeah.
You get wind and everything going through that stadium. So
bring back the old municipal for this.
Yeah.
Again. I can see the stand rock.
Yeah.
That always thing looked like it's just going to fall in.
It smelled bad.
Yeah.
Bad odor in that stadium. I don't know what it was.
I know what it was.
Yeah, I think we kind of know. We're not going to go
that's all I'll say.
Speculate and move on. But anyway,
oh my goodness,
it's going to be it'll be a very interesting weekend in the NFL. There was a thing, and I'll maybe get to this in the second half, but the NCAA recently is kicking around whether or not they're gonna let the players go get the NIL directly. In other words, they're gonna let players have the NIL go directly to the source, and they don't get involved.
Okay.
And then they were talking about the minimum salary. The minimum was $30,000 per player, and they were like kicking all this crazy stuff around. And it's not that they're just discussing it. Nothing is,
intimate just yet. We'll see.
What I'm thinking with the NCAA, because I don't trust them, is I think if they're going to put a minimum in, that means they're going to put a maximum in. In other words, they're going to say, okay, the minimum is 30, but the maximum is like 200,000.
Yeah.
You can't make more than that on an NIL deal. And as soon as they do that, I guarantee you the lawsuits will be flying.
Well, we got to get out. It's going to happen. You need controversy. So.
Because as soon as the NCAA wants to limit this. Mm-hmm. They do. They don't want those players making millions of dollars. Let's face it.
Yeah.
They want that money.
Right.
And that still's got them under. They're still mad that the players won that NIL with the courts because they got slam dunked by the courts. They're upset because they can't get the money that the players are now getting.
Yeah.
And they want it.
Oh, yeah, I know they want it.
Because they've always had it. You know, it's like you're giving your dog steak for dinner every night. Now he's getting hamburger. Your dog's mad at you. And you might sell him that the hamburger's good and it's good hamburger, but your dog's still growling at you because he wanted that steak back and you ain't getting it steak. Right. It's like the NCAA, you're not getting that money back that the players are now getting.
You know they don't.
And you know they don't like it. And now they're trying to be more, we want to be reasonable. I want to see how, because this isn't going away. The NIL is here to stay, and the transfer portal's here to stay too.
Yeah, I don't even, people be crying about it, having a fit. I'm not whining about the portal. I'm so upset before when the coaches would recruit these guys, and then I'm getting $3 million here, but you're over there. You say, "Hey, come to my school. I give you $8 million. You just leave."
Yeah, here,
and these guys are stuck. No, I don't like that.
Let me run this one by you, okay? The transfer portal goes both ways, you know. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks, these players are running out to the transfer portal. Do you think there's a couple coaches out there that call the player in and says, you need to get into the transfer portal because you don't fit into the future plans of the team, so you need to transfer out and go to another team? I would probably say that probably goes on just as much as the players wanting to leave. There's coaches that whine about the portal, but they use the portal to their advantage as soon as they have a chance. This is what cracks me up when these coaches start crying about transfer portal. I go, you guys turn around and how many players do you go, hey, you need to go to the portal because you're not working out here for whatever reason.
Yep.
You either show up late for meetings or whatever. Or whatever it is, you need to leave, get in the portal.
Right. But this is the thing. I remember having a discussion with Mark, and I know they were like really upset at Deion Sanders with this transfer portal. And they said, did I like it? I said, I like what he did. They say, are you kidding me? He wouldn't told them. Yes, I like it because the reason I like it, he told them up front.
Yeah.
Hey, it's best for you to get in the portal to go somewhere. Right. I'm not going to use you. You don't fit our system.
Right.
That's just being upfront and honest. I'd rather, instead of me lingering there thinking I'm going to have an opportunity and I'm not, get me in the portal or wherever I need to and go. I didn't have any problem with what he was doing. And he even said, after, Matt Rule and all of them tried to throw him under the bus about, look what he's doing. And here,
Matt Rule
used the transfer portal as much as Deion did. Right. It was like 12 different players, as far as how many they had. What is he talking about? But then it came out exactly what you just said about how he was telling players, we're not going to use you here.
No.
Since I came here to Nebraska, we're not doing this, we're not doing that.
You need to get
guys
into the
were
portal.
Stuck. Yeah. They were telling them that. Right. We're not going to use you. Right.
So you need to transfer out.
But you don't keep that under wraps like that.
Right.
And that no.
Right.
This is out front.
Right. The whole thing with the portal, it goes both ways. That knife cuts both ways.
That's right.
That could go to the player's advantage, but that also goes to the coach's advantage. And I'll guarantee you that there's probably, and I haven't looked up the number, I heard it's well over 500 players, even more than that, this past week got into the transfer portal. I don't know the exact number, but I heard it was something in the neighborhood of that. Yeah. I'd like to know how many of those players were told by their coaches, get in the portal.
Yeah.
How many, do you think Ryan, don't be shocked if Ryan Day agreed that, Kyle McCord, it's a good idea you get in the portal.
Yeah. He might have said it.
I think he might have said it.
You never know.
would not be surprised.
Well, I know when this started and they was ripping Deion, I remember you saying on the show, he's about You didn't have any problem with it. It's going to be some other things going to come. And then all of that stuff started dying down. Why? We started finding out how many other coaches were doing the exact same thing that he was. You know, whether it was to the degree of what he did, but they were using that portal like crazy. And just because he changed the entire roster over, the Colorado Buffaloes had one win, right? The season before. And I think 2 wins the season before that.
Right.
Now they look at other teams like Alabama and they went to transfer portal too. And they'll see that they're bringing in guys, you know, maybe 10 guys, 15 guys. But what they did, they already stock loaded. They bring in other top guys that might have 1 year left, 2 years, that are great starters and plug them into those spots that they need them plugged in. And now they still got their powerhouse.
Right.
So there's no complaints because they're still top.
Right.
He's trying to build a program. And a lot of times if I'm building a house, why would I use the old wood that's there? If I'm building a new house, why would I use the old wood?
Right.
I want to build my house with new wood.
It's like
and you might can use some pieces of that that's on that foundation of that old house, but you're not using all of it if you want a new house. So that's why I looked at. I said, these guys, they just wanted to attack him, and then it all came out just like you had said, and that stuff died right down.
It does.
Because we've seen this all over the country.
For the record, I stand corrected on the amount of players getting into the transfer portal.
More?
A lot more.
What did you say?
I said 500.
Is it the thousands?
No. Okay. Higher.
Woo, 1,500.
Bingo. 1,500 players. College football transfer portal opened at midnight on Monday. Since then, more than 1,500 players entered the portal to move on to a new school. So I was grossly wrong, like I usually am. But bottom line, it was 1,500 players, more than 1,500, not 500. I do stand corrected. So more than 1,500 players have jumped to the portal, and they start rattling off all the players and names and yada, yada, yada. It's mind-boggling. But the whole point of it is, of the 1,500, I would say probably half the coaches told these players, you need to go to the portal. At least half, if not more. Granted, some of the players decided, I think a lot of cases it was the player and the coach deciding, I need to transfer.
Right.
I still think Kyle McCord and Ryan Day agreed to that.
Yep.
Ryan Day, like we said in the beginning of the show, Ryan Day allegedly told McCord, you're going to compete for the job, it's not yours. And McCord says, I think I'm going to transfer. And I think Ryan Day, that's a good deal. Yeah. That's a good idea.
And then, you know, a lot of times
it is
people
what it is.
Don't like change.
No.
As soon as they see change, stuff is outrageous. Look at college basketball. We'll go to that first. Look at what college basketball was. We used to talk about the games, watching Bill Walton and Al Sindor and all the guys, David Thompson. They played all their years.
So they played 4 years.
Yeah, they played.
Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, they all played. That's been so long ago since
over 30 years. Oh, well over 30, almost 40 years now.
Now, don't the rosters change? You don't even know who's on. No. You see this team 1 year, the next year, where's that guy? Oh, he went overseas to play 1 year, then go to the NBA. Yeah. Or they went straight to whatever. They don't stay.
Yeah,
college had to come to football. Football wasn't doing it, didn't have that, but now they're not leaving. They're just leaving that school. Right. They're leaving, they're not leaving college football.
Well, it's like Tommy DeVito. He played at Syracuse, had a good year. For some reason, he and the coach had some kind of falling out. He got benched. Okay. He transferred the next year to Illinois, had a really good year under Brent Bielema and playing for the Giants. But the point is, I'm just using him as an example. He had an opportunity and a good opportunity for him to do that. I think it's great that the players have the option. But I still think at the end of the day, the coaches are basically telling these kids to get into this portal too. So I don't want to hear the coaches complain about it because they're using the portal probably as much as the players, if not more.
Yeah, and they are. And then then if they're not telling them to get in the portal, they're telling them that, hey, we can't use you.
Right.
So that's the same thing. What else are you going to do?
Or you're going to stay, but you're third string, and you're not going to get you're not going to get past third string on the depth chart.
Yeah.
So you're not basically going to be able to play. So
I
that's
need to go.
I need to go.
Right.
Hey, I don't care how you say it. Now the kid has the option of going. But this whole thing with the portal, to me, it should have been here a long time ago because it gives the players the option. But I think coaches are using the portal actually more than the players.
And then they just turn it and flip it on the players.
And then they complain about it. All these
and
players.
they know the NCAA will back them up on that one because they love to do that.
Right.
Anything against the players,
anything.
NCAA is going to back them up.
They have been. History.
Yeah.
I still.
They anti-player.
One day I'm going to bring that book and read it on the air. I love that book. Indentured, man. Unbelievable book. It's just you read that book and you read that book and you think to yourself, the NCAA should be in jail for what they do.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Anyway, we're gonna do our football picks, the NFL, when we get back. Saturday morning sports page. We'll get to the fourth quarter after this quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
So why do teenagers play high school sports?
My reason why is a sense of purpose.
My reason why is to inspire others.
One reason student athletes seldom mention is to get an athletic scholarship. They know that only 2% of all high school athletes are awarded a sports scholarship. So why do they play?
My reason why is friendship.
Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202 to get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here, and it is from the Western Reserve Studios here in Struthers, Ohio. Just real quick, and then we're going to get to our picks. We're talking about the old ABA, American Basketball Association, a great league in its own right. The thing is, and I get a little nostalgic because I grew up in the league. Like I remember when it first came out, I was like 11 years old. And I remember when it went from 67 to 76. And I just remember like watching the league, and you didn't really see it. I get Saturday, they had it on. CBS had some ABA games every Saturday at like 2:00.
Yeah.
But I just remember reading about it, and Sports Illustrated had it. Connie Hawkins was playing for the Pittsburgh Pipers. I had to pull this up just because we were talking the 72-73 Indiana Pacers. This is like they're starting. Roger Brown, Mel Daniels, Donnie Freeman, Darnell Hillman, Billy Keller, Fred Lewis, George McGinnis, and then they had Don. It's Boosie. He played at University of Evansville. He was 6'4", he could shoot. Mm-hmm. And I just remember that team was a great team to watch. I was in high school, and I believe they won the ABA title that year. But that was a great team, and I just thought of that roster in the back of my head. Yep. And I was remembered George McGinnis was like one of my favorite players, ABA players of all time. And Dr. J, obviously.
And he's playing, I don't know, that year, was he with the Virginia Squire?
I think he was a Virginia Squire back in 72, 73. They also had, on that team, they had Billy Keller, Gus Johnson, Freddie Lewis, I mentioned McGinnis, Bill Newton, George Peoples, Craig Heyman, and that was the team back then. And I was just trying to think, is that the Gus Johnson that played? I got to make sure. That's that was the Gus Johnson that played for the Baltimore Bullets, right, in the ABA, and he was in the NBA, and then he went over to the ABA, and he was playing for the Indiana Pacers. So, and because they called him, his nickname was Honeycomb, Gus Johnson. Mm-hmm. And that's the Gus Johnson that basically was in with the Baltimore Bullets. He went over and played for that ABA team.
Free Spirit League.
Yeah, that was a Free Spirit League.
Yes, a lot of excitement over it.
A lot of excitement. A lot of great players in that league. And they played. Roger Brown couldn't play in the NBA because he took a ride.
Yeah.
From supposedly he and Connie Hawkins took a ride from Jack Molinas in New York. That's all they did is they got in his car and he drove them somewhere and let them off. And since Molinas was a gambler and involved with fixing games, they banned Hawkins and Roger Brown from the NBA.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all they did. They were from both New York City. Mm-hmm. Great players in their own.
You better know it.
Yeah. And that's all they did. Yep. They took a ride. Got in the car and took a ride with Jack Molinas.
Yep. You go. They are legends at the old.
Yep.
New York Rucker.
The Rucker League.
They are legends there. Those guys got that thing started back in the day.
They did, and that was probably, like I said, they got into they were kind of the foundation of the ABA. Mm-hmm. Like Roger Brown, Connie Hawkins, and there were a few of those other guys. For whatever reason,
one of the reasons the doc said that he went to the ABA instead of the NBA when he came out of Massachusetts,
right,
was because of Connie Hawkins in the ABA.
Right, he followed Connie Hawkins in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what made the ABA such a... And David Thompson, who played for NC State, won a championship.
And they said that he would not be able to be that good once they went over to the NBA. No, he wasn't that good. He was better.
He was better.
Dominating.
He was the first guy. He was the first player, in my eyes, he had the vertical 42-inch jumping ability. He was a Skywalker. Yeah. He was like the first guy that we saw ever that was like on that level of total skywalking.
Yeah,
as we called it back then.
Yeah, because it was ridiculous. Because I still remember him in the NCAA going up and coming down on his head
against Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I
remember that game like it was yesterday. Yep. They went on to win that game. They went on to win the title that year. Yep. But I remember Thompson had his head wrapped.
Remember that?
I remember that like it was almost yesterday.
And I said, this guy might be leery of jumping.
Nope. They beat UCLA in the semifinals that year, not the finals.
Right.
They beat Marquette in the finals, but they beat UCLA in the semifinals.
Marquette and Allie McGuire. Marquette and Allie McGuire
and they won it 77.
Was it Bo Ellis or whatever?
Yeah, Bo Ellis was on the 77.
Their uniforms. Remember their uniforms?
Yeah, they did.
It was always designed by Bo Ellis.
Bo Ellis did the uniform, and Butch Lee was on that team that won it in 77. They beat North Carolina in 77 to win it, and then Allie McGuire, the coach, Allie's the son, Al McGuire.
Al McGuire, yeah.
Went and got into the broadcasting booth and became a legend there because he
Right.
was unbelievable in the booth as a broadcaster. But he was a fantastic coach and just was a character of characters. And you could tell when he got into that booth with Billy Packer, it was pure entertainment.
Yep.
Those guys would go back and forth and get into these discussions, and it was classic.
Yep. Remember that? Oh, I can remember it. Good old days.
Yeah, they were the good. That's what it. Yeah, those
Good
guys were
days.
really good. I loved, like I said, Al McGuire to me was like the best. He was like he knew the game, and he was so funny. I remember one time he brought up. He was talking about a player, and he goes, the first half they go to class, and he said something like, oh yeah, he takes shop. The first quarter, the first semester of shop is you build the chair. And they go, and the second semester you paint the chair. He said that one time on TV. They were like cracking up, and they were like joking about like, what are these guys like? What school do they take? And he brought up the thing. Oh yeah, they goes, well, they take shop. I was laughing. Al McGuire was such a character of characters, but he was a great coach.
Yes, he was.
And he also told Jim Chones when Chones went, he played for Marquette, and Chones came. I think he came from a big family. He was the oldest. And he came into Al McGuire and he says, I'm getting an offer from the Nets to go play in the ABA. And he was still at Marquette. And he said to Al, what do I do? And, he said, Al goes, what do you mean? What's the contract? It was like, back then it was like a 3-year, $600,000 contract, which was a lot of back then. This was like 71. McGuire says, you better take the money and go. You have a family, you came from a big family, you need to take the money and get out. You can get your degree later, but you need to take the money and go. I mean, he goes, I like you, you're a great player, and I can win with you, but you need to do what's good for you.
Yeah.
That's the type of guy McGuire was.
Yeah, I always liked him. That was one of my favorite teams in at that time, but because of him.
Yeah.
And the way he treated his players.
Right. And Bobby Knight told Isaiah the same thing. When Isaiah Thomas got the offer to go to the NBA, Bobby said, you've got to take the money and go. He goes, you can get the degree at Indiana. And I'm big, Bobby got it. All his kids graduated, but the point is the coaches got it. Those coaches got it.
Yeah. There's different coaches back in the day.
It's different. Yeah. Let's go ahead before we get squeezed by the time.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Let's get to our picks because all these picks are big deal.
Yep.
The Bucks are at the Falcons. Falcons lay 2 and a hook. Bucks come off a big win last week. Why this game means so much is because both these teams are competing for that division title down in the South.
They are.
The Falcons 2 and a hook. The Falcons beat the Jets last week 13-8. Again, Bucks won 21-18 over the Panthers. So it's 2 and a hook. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers get 2 and a hook. Dave Clark.
I'm going to take. It's Tampa Bay, right?
Yep, Tampa
Bay. They got
Bay.
a lot of injuries. Man, they got a lot on defense. I'm going to take Atlanta.
Yeah. I think I'm almost to the point on some of these. If the point spread's like under 7 or under 3, I'm going to go with the home team unless there's something out that jumps out at me. Otherwise,
Atlanta's at home?
Atlanta's at home, and they're laying 2 and a hook.
Yeah.
It's less than 3.
Yeah, I'm going to take them.
The next one is one we talked about already. It's a big game. Lions are at the Bears. The Bears get 3 points. The Bears come off a bye. Lions won last week. They beat the Saints 33-28. So now you're sitting there thinking, Justin Fields had a good game. The last time the Bears played, they beat Minnesota on that Monday night.
Right.
Justin Fields made some big plays at the end.
Right.
Maybe if Pittsburgh had him, they would probably have won a few games. They lost, which we also said that may be a place where Justin Fields might end up. Could be Pittsburgh. Might be some other places. I'm sure there's teams. Believe me, there are teams out there that are going to go after him.
Yeah.
Because they could see the ability, and he can still, like you said, if he ran for 100 yards against the Lions. So this could be potentially a very big game. Bears have that bye. Lions came off a tough win over the Saints, 33-28. Bears get 3 points at home.
I know.
See, I've been mulling this one over in the back of my head.
The Bears could give him problems, but I'm gonna take Detroit for the simple fact they're 9-3.
Yep.
And they have to. Campbell got to get these guys in playoff mode. So let's see if he can do it. And I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with Detroit, but I don't know.
I'm gonna make. I was gonna go that direction. The Lions. And I'm probably wrong. I usually am. I have a sneaking suspicion the Bears are going to make this a close game. Yeah. 3 points could be. This has potential.
Push on it.
Push on it. Yes, thank you. I'll take the Bears because I think that this is a game. It's going to be outside. The conditions are going to be crappy. I could see Justin Fields running, making this a real crazy game.
Yep.
I could see the Bears winning this game and throwing a wrench in the Lions' season.
Yeah.
So I'll lean with the Bears and move on. The next one is a really big one. The Colts are at the Bengals. The Colts came back last week against the Titans and pulled it out. The Titans missed an extra point. Colts got it into overtime and win 31-28. The Bengals surprised everybody on the Monday Night Football game, a game that I thought was going to be kind of a lousy game blowout.
I know.
Boy, I was dead wrong. Not only did the Bengals not get blown out, they beat the Jags 34-31. Making it, now all of a sudden the 6-6 Bengals are definitely in the playoff hunt, as the 7-5 Colts are in the playoff hunt. This is a big, important game because it's a tiebreaker implications, because whoever wins this game will have the tiebreaker against one another, and that could be down. Especially the Bengals go 6-7. Now they are probably not out of the playoff picture, but they're further away. The Bengals win, they go 7-6. Colts lose 7-6 all of a sudden now, but the Bengals have the tiebreaker. Mm-hmm. So this is almost like a quasi playoff game.
Right.
Implication wise. When you break it down, this is almost like it's almost, here we are sitting at what are we at week 14.
And this game is where at?
It's at Cincinnati. So, the Houday fans down there, as they like to refer to them, Houday Bengals, they'll be up. Believe me, there'll be a lot of alcohol served at that game because the Bengal fans believe me, I've been to a few Bengal games when I lived in Dayton and went to a few games. The fans down there are a good group, and they are rowdy, though. They're loud, and they like to get cranked up for these games.
Well, I want to go with Indy. Just because, since he's coming off from a Monday night
win, and that's usually the problem is the teams that win Monday night always have like the hangover for the Sunday game, and they don't play as well. Now, Jake Browning threw a curve into everybody because nobody thought Jake Browning was going to go out and play it as well as he did, and he played a great game.
He played fantastic.
And he caught everybody totally off guard.
Yeah.
Can he do it again this week? And it's going to be the Gardner Minshew show for the Colts, and Gardner's done a great job as the backup. And again, they got the playoffs in there, and with Pittsburgh losing now and dropping to 7-6, these teams are thinking, "Hey, now we have a shot." And Cincinnati's looking a little bit; they have to beat the Colts, but if they beat the Colts, they know they have the Steelers. A couple weeks down the road, and they're thinking, "Hey, wait a minute, we can get in the playoffs. We can be a playoff team."
It's gonna be tough. I'm gonna try to stay with Indy. Don't be surprised if I send a text change with that. But that's.
Right. I'll go the other way. I like the Bengals. I think they're at home.
Yeah,
they have the momentum. I know there's a Monday night hangover. I'm worried about it. But and they got the backup quarterback. Browning played good, but I'm afraid, you always can come down after playing so good. And I think I'm leaning toward the Colts, but I'll go Bengals and move. The next one is, another big game with big implications. Jacksonville Jags are 8-4 at the Cleveland Browns, 7-5. Browns lost last week to the Rams 36-19. We talked, the Jags got beat by the Bengals 34-31 for Monday night. So they obviously are, need to win this game because they don't. If they go 8-5, we get later on. Now the Texans are 7-5. You're opening up the door potentially to the Texans. If they beat the Jets, then you're tied with the Texans. And again, this is the time of year that these are mini playoff games in some cases.
That's what this game is. I'm going to take Cleveland's at home.
-3. -3. So Cleveland gives up 3 points.
Man,
it's supposed to be windy and a kind of a weird weather day, which could make a challenge for, both teams.
Right.
But we don't know who's starting. The quarterbacks are up in the air. We don't know who's starting quarterbacks on either team. They're both game time decisions. Lawrence and Dorian Robinson are basically.
I'm gonna Cleveland. I'm gonna take Cleveland. I say it quietly. I don't know. This is something right here. I don't know.
I'll go Browns too.
I'm gonna take them.
Let's move on. The Panthers are at the Saints. The Saints 5-7. The Panthers 1-11. The only question is the Saints lay 6 points.
Wow.
They're at home laying 6 points to the Panthers. The Panthers surprised people last week because they hung around with Tampa Bay and lost, but they made that a close game. So the Panthers have not quit on their team yet.
And this game is in
New Orleans. Okay, so the game's at New Orleans, and Panthers get 6 points.
I'm gonna take New Orleans. They have to do something. That division is in.
They don't know if Carr's playing, but
he did get cleared.
He's cleared. They were saying another one, Jameis Winston. They don't know yet, but Jameis Winston.
He's injured too.
What
you said?
No.
James? Oh, okay.
Winston could get the start.
Okay.
They don't know which one's going to start, but does it really matter? Because is there a big difference between Carr and Winston? Maybe a little. I don't know. They're about the
only thing with Winston, he's throwing the ball down the field.
He throws it. He's going to chuck it.
Whereas Carr is more of a dink and dunk.
Yeah, he's a dink
crossing
and dunk.
routes.
Winston will throw. He will.
He's going to challenge.
He's got the arm. Yeah, he's going to throw it. Yeah. I'll take Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to stay.
I'll take with the Saints. The only question here is, do they cover? I don't know. Yeah. You never know, though. Panthers could get. They hung with Tampa Bay last week.
They sure did.
It could be wild. The next one is another big game. We didn't get into the Jet situation on the quarterbacks because that's a soap opera in itself, and there was all this thing about the guy, the fans sending the coach the manifesto, how to make the team better, and it just Salah got involved with some fan about it's the Jets. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the Jets and their issues with the quarterback and all the anyway. Boyle's cut. They cut him loose.
Right.
He started. They cut him loose. And now Zach Wilson is now your starter again. He went from third string to the starter. So the Jets have no idea what they're doing with their quarterback.
Well, they had no other choice but to do that.
Right.
Go back to
they
him.
don't.
You ain't got no other choice.
You have no other choice.
So just go ahead and ride the rest of the
season. Ride it out and see. This game's at the Jets. Texans are at the Jets. And the Jets get 3 and a hook.
Yeah, well. I mean, you ride it with Zach, and I ride the Houston Texans.
Me too.
And that's why
I might be wrong, but I'm taking the Texans.
Boy. Stroud throwing a touchdown now. They ain't even played yet. He's already throwing touchdown passes.
I could again. You never know with these games, but I'll take the Texans because I like Stroud. I know it's New York. It might be a kind of I don't know. They're probably going to be a balmy day. I like the Texans. They're just better. They're more together. The Jets are a train wreck with the quarterback controversy. I mean, that defense on the Jets, their heads are spinning because
what a waste.
Just because what is going on the offensive end of the ball with the quarterback nightmare. You don't know. Saleh doesn't know who to start at quarterback. He can't make his mind up. You're going to go. I mean, Wilson's going to give you the best chance when he should have started anyway the last couple of games. They can't. And then you turn around, the guy that was starting, you cut him. You don't even demote him. You cut him. Who does this? Let's move on. The Rams are at the Ravens, and this is 7 and a hook. Rams get 7 and a hook at the Ravens. It's a West Coast coming east. Ravens come off a bye. Rams come off a big win. Their game, they're 6-6. They need the game because they're definitely in the playoff hunt now, the Rams.
They definitely are.
They've played themselves in. Is it a tall order to beat the Ravens in Baltimore, though, when they're coming off a bye?
Yeah, it's tough.
It's 7 and a hook. So the Rams get 7 and a hook.
Something tell me to take the Rams, but I just think Baltimore is going to put they have to put a lot of pressure on Stafford. They have to do that. And that defense is going to come. They done had a week off, so I'm just going to take them. Something still tells me the Rams. Remember this if I lose it, but I'm going to take Baltimore.
Yeah, I got it. You know what? I was thinking Rams, but you know what? These teams that come east, and I think the Ravens with the week off. And I think the Rams are going to come back to earth a little bit. McVay's a great coach, though.
Yeah, he's done a good job. What do you got? You got a young team.
I debate whether or not. The only question I have is, do they cover?
Yeah, no.
7 in that hook.
Oh, 7 in a hook.
It's 7 in a hook.
Wow.
See, that's where I'm leaning toward the. You know what? I'm going to make.
I got to take the hook. I thought it was this.
No, it's 7 in the hook. I'm taking the Rams.
I told you something. Keep telling me to take it anyway.
Right.
So with that hook, maybe I'll go on a limb.
You want to go?
That. Yeah.
Well, it makes two of us, Rams. Okay. Moving on. The Vikings are at the Raiders, and the Raiders get 3 points. I don't know
I'm taking them.
You want the Raiders?
Yep.
And the 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm gonna take a chance.
I'll do. I like the Raiders in the 3 too because
something they should have been got rid of Josh McDaniels. I don't care if they're losing. This is how competitive they are now. It was just terrible.
Yeah, they should have got rid of him a long time ago. Let's get to the Seahawks at the 49ers. Minus 13. So the Seahawks are getting 3 points. They got beat by the Niners on Thanksgiving. It was a 31-13. So the Seahawks had a big game against the Cowboys but lost Thursday night. We know what the 49ers did against the Eagles. Yeah, the Seahawks could have won that game. Obviously, the 49ers just put the Eagles to sleep 42-19. That was like lights out for the Eagles on that game. What do you lay the wood and take the 49ers?
I'm gonna lay it for the simple fact it's up in the air whether he probably going to play. He shows his toughness, but it's up in the air. So I'm taking them. Yeah,
let's move
San Fran
to the Bills at the Chiefs. -1. The Bills basically get a point on the road against the Chiefs. The Bills coming off a bye. The Chiefs came off that bad loss against the Packers on Sunday night.
Yeah.
It's almost an even game.
I'm taking KC.
Yeah. Me too. I can't. KC's not going to lose again.
Yeah.
Even though the Bills need the game because they're 6-6, they need to win the game to get in the playoff.
It'll be good, I think, too.
And it's going to be a great game. It's 4:25. Let's move on to the Broncos at the Bolts. And man, this is a classic game. 2.5. The Bolts are laying 2.5 to the Broncos, so it's a home game.
Bronx.
Yeah, I got to go Broncos too. I think they'll come back from that loss against the Texans.
Yeah, it was a good game too.
Great game. Eagles are at the Cowboys. That's the Sunday nighter. The Cowboys lay 3 and a hook, so the Eagles are getting 3 and a hook on the road against the boys.
Where's it at?
At Dallas.
Okay, yeah, they split anyway. So
they usually split.
So I'm gonna take
the only question is,
I'm gonna take them at home.
Cover.
I think they'll beat them like at least 7 at home. But it's hard to see Philly losing twice in a row after that. I don't think they're gonna stand for that. But I'm just going by tradition.
Yeah, they usually split. Only question is, do they do 3?
Yeah, and it's a hook too, right?
It's a hook. Wow. I'll go Eagles and take the 3 and a hook on the road. Let's go to the Titans at the Finns, and the Titans are getting 13 on the road.
They need more than 13.
They need 13.
They need 30. I'm taking Miami.
Yeah, I'm taking
even though I don't think
Miami.
they'll go to Super Bowl. That offense is ridiculous.
I'll take Miami and lay the points too. Final, Packers are at the Giants. It's a dual Monday nighter.
Yeah,
Titans
that's
are
right.
on 8:15. Giants and Packers 8:15. Tigers, Titans and the Finns are 8:15, and the Packers and Giants are on ABC though. Let's get back to it's 6.5. Packers get 6 and a hook on the road against the Giants, playing in the
Packers get.
No, I'm sorry,
the
my
Giants.
bad.
The
Giants get 6 and a hook. Can they keep it close or
At home, too.
At home, on a Monday nighter?
I'm gonna ride the love train. just tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Let's try the love train for one more week.
You know what? I got to go Packers. I'm a Giant fan, and I like DeVito, and I like the Giants. But Monday night, Giants don't do well. They haven't done well on Monday night, although they could win. This is a kind of game that the New York Giants could actually win. But I'm going to go Packers. That's the show.
Heisman Trophy tonight.
Heisman Trophy tonight. Who wins it?
I think Penix is going to, but I think McDaniels should be.
Yeah.
That's who I think should win the Heisman. But he plays for, 3 losses, LSU.
We'll know next week. Saturday Morning Sports Page. Stay safe. Do not drink and do not drive, and buckle up. Take care.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's gonna teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops, the rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty.